Fact 1. The moon is Earth's closest celestial companion. The moon has always been there, hanging in the sky, following Earth, like a faithful partner. On average, it sits about 384,400 kilometers away from us. That number is almost unimaginable, so let's put it into perspective. If you could drive a car at highway speed, say 100 kilometers per hour non-stop without food or rest, it would still take you more than 160 days to reach the moon. And yet, in the grand scale of the universe, the moon is right next door, compared to the next nearest celestial body, which is the planet Venus, millions of kilometers away. The moon feels like a neighbor you can wave to across the street. For ancient humans, it was the most prominent thing in the night sky, bright, mysterious, and constant. They could look at it without special instruments, and over thousands of years, they wove myths, measured time, and built calendars based on its movements. The moon's closeness is also why it looks so large compared to stars, which are massive, but impossibly distant. Because of this closeness, humanity has always felt a bond with the moon. Unlike the cold, unreachable stars, the moon feels almost touchable. In many cultures, people even dreamed of traveling there, long before rockets were invented. And in 1969, humans finally made that dream come true, proving that this glowing companion in the sky was not only visible, but also reachable. Fact 2. The moon shines by borrowed light at first glance. It seems as if the moon glows with its own mysterious silver light. But in truth, the moon has no light of its own. It is a giant mirror, reflecting sunlight back to Earth. The lunar surface is made of rock and dust, mostly gray and dull when seen up close. But when sunlight hits it, those pale rocks scatter light in all directions. And from Earth, it looks as though the moon is glowing softly. This reflected light can be bright enough to cast shadows at night, something you can notice during a full moon walk. Imagine how awe-inspiring this must have been for early people who saw the dark night transformed into something almost magical by the moon's borrowed glow. What makes this even more fascinating is that the moon only reflects about 12% of the sunlight that strikes at a property called albedo. In other words, the moon is actually quite a poor reflector compared to something shiny like a mirror. If it were a perfect reflector, the night sky would be blinding when the moon was full. Instead, we get a soft, soothing glow that feels gentle, ideal for dreamers and poets. Many myths saw the moon as a vessel carrying the sun's power, a celestial lamp that was lit by the gods each evening. Even today, when we understand the science, there's something comforting about knowing the moon glows, not from within, but because it reflects the light of our sun, the same sun that warms Earth during the day. Fact 3. The moon always shows us the same face. One of the strangest and most mesmerizing facts about the moon is that we only ever see one side of it. This phenomenon is called tidal locking. Billions of years ago, the moon spun faster on its axis, but Earth's gravity exerted a constant pull, gradually slowing the moon's rotation until it matched the time it takes to orbit Earth. Now, the moon rotates once on its axis in exactly the same time it takes to orbit us, 27.3 days. This perfect synchronization means one hemisphere, TNARCD, is forever turned toward Earth, while the far side remains hidden. For centuries, humans imagined what might be on that far side. Was it covered in forests? Was it home to mysterious creatures? It wasn't until 1959, when the Soviet spacecraft Luna 3 sent back images, that we saw the far side for the first time. It turned out to be more cratered and rugged, with fewer of the smooth seas that dominate the near side. This eternal alignment has given the moon a sense of intimacy. Unlike the planets or stars, which spin and shift, the moon feels almost loyal, like a friend who always faces you directly. Some people even describe it as if the moon is watching over them, never turning away. This constancy has inspired songs, poems, and myths, all rooted in the feeling that the moon is a companion, not just a rock in space. Fact 4. The surface of the moon is covered in dust and rock. If you were to step onto the moon, you would not find smooth plains of silver or glowing crystals. Instead, you would find yourself standing on a landscape coated in a strange substance called reefs. This lunar soil is not soil as we know it. There are no nutrients, no organic matter, nothing alive. Instead, it is a fine powder mixed with jagged fragments, formed by billions of years of meteorite impacts. With no atmosphere to protect it, the moon is constantly bombarded by tiny space rocks, each one smashing the surface into dust and shards. Astronauts who walked on the moon in the Apollo missions described the regolith as powdery but clingy. It stuck to their boots, to their suits, and even got inside the spacecraft. Some said it smelled like spent gunpowder after they brought the dust inside and breathed near it. The ground is also sharp, because lunar rock has never been eroded by wind or water like Earth's rocks. Every grain is jagged, abrasive, and difficult to handle, despite its harshness. This dust is precious. Scientists study lunar regolith to learn about the history of the solar system. Since it contains material unchanged for billions of years, it is like a cosmic archive, each grain holding clues about ancient impacts, solar radiation, and planetary evolution. For the astronauts, walking on it was both wondrous and challenging. The moon may look serene from Earth, but its surface is a harsh and alien place. Fact 5. The moon creates Earth's tides. One of the most profound effects of the moon on Earth is the tides. Every day, the oceans rise and fall, pulled by the moon's gravity. When the moon is directly overhead, its pull tugs at the water, creating a bulge. At the same time, another bulge forms on the opposite side of Earth, caused by inertia. As Earth spins, different places pass through these bulges, creating the cycle of high and low tides we know so well. Without the moon, Earth's tides would be weak, driven only by the sun, and coastal life would be very different. Tides have shaped ecosystems for millions of years. Many creatures, like crabs and clams, live in tidal zones, timing their feeding and breeding to the rhythm of the water. Humans, too, have always been guided by the tides. Fishermen relied on them to know when to set out. Sailors watched them carefully, since tides could mean the difference between safe passage and a shipwreck. Poets compared them to the ebb and flow of human emotions, while mystics saw them as proof of the moon's mysterious power over Earth. Even today, the connection remains powerful. Stand on a beach during a full moon night, and you can feel the vast ocean responding to the silent pool of our nearest neighbor in space. The moon doesn't just light our nights. It moves our waters, shaping the very rhythm of life on Earth. Fact 6. The moon is slowly drifting away from Earth. Although the moon feels like a constant companion, always there in the night sky, it is not as permanent as we might think. Each year, the moon drifts about 3.8 centimeters farther away from Earth. That might sound small, roughly the same as how fast your fingernails grow but over millions of years. It adds up. Scientists discovered this fact using laser reflectors left on the moon's surface by Apollo astronauts. They bounce lasers off these mirrors and measure the time it takes for the light to return, giving incredibly precise measurements of the moon's distance. Long ago, when dinosaurs roamed the Earth, the moon was much closer. Imagine a night sky where the moon looked larger and brighter, dominating the heavens even more than it does now. This slow drifting is caused by the exchange of energy between Earth's rotation and the moon's orbit. As the moon pulls on Earth's oceans, creating tides, friction gradually slows Earth's rotation. To conserve energy, the moon moves farther away, millions of years in the future. This means our days will be slightly longer, and the moon will appear smaller in the sky. Someday, far into the future, a total solar eclipse will no longer be possible, because the moon will be too distant to completely cover the sun. For now, though, we live in a unique moment in cosmic history where the moon and the sun look almost the same size from Earth, creating breathtaking eclipses, a coincidence that future generations may not experience. Fact 7. The moon has no atmosphere, unlike Earth. The moon is airless. There is no breathable atmosphere, no gentle winds, no clouds drifting across its sky. This absence makes the moon both eerily silent and unforgiving. On Earth, our atmosphere protects us, burning up meteors before they hit the surface, keeping temperatures stable and carrying sound. On the moon, none of this exists. A meteor, no matter how small, will strike the lunar surface with full force, leaving behind a crater. Without air, there is no weather, no rain, no erosion, no rivers to smooth the landscape. That is why craters on the moon remain for billions of years, frozen in time. If you stood on the moon, the silence would be absolute, with no air. Sound cannot travel. Even if you shouted, no one could hear you unless you were connected by radio. The lack of atmosphere also means dramatic extremes in temperature. During lunar day, the surface can heat to more than 120 degrees Celsius, while at night it plummets to minus 170. This swing would be unbearable for life as we know it. Despite this harshness, the moon does have an ultra-thin layer of scattered molecules called an It is so sparse that it cannot support life or weather. But scientists still study it to understand how gases behave in space. For humans dreaming of living on the moon, the absence of atmosphere presents one of the greatest challenges. Domes, suits, and technology would be required just to survive. The silent, airless world of the moon reminds us how precious Earth's atmosphere truly is. Fact 8. The moon is peppered with craters, scars from ancient impacts. Look at the moon through even a simple telescope, and one feature immediately stands out. Its surface is covered in craters. These round depressions are the scars of countless collisions with asteroids, comets, and meteoroids over billions of years. Because the moon has no atmosphere to protect it, every object that crosses its path strikes the surface. Some craters are enormous, spanning hundreds of kilometers, like the South Politcan Basin, which is one of the largest impact craters in the entire solar system. Others are tiny, just small dents created by pebble-sized meteors. Each impact reshaped the surface, spreading rock and dust across the land. Some craters are so old that their rims have softened with time, while others are sharp and fresh, evidence of more recent impacts. To the human eye, these craters give the moon its rugged, ancient appearance, like the face of an old traveler marked by stories of survival. Some cultures saw these patterns as images, faces, animals, or even entire myths written in stone. The craters also tell scientists the history of our solar system. By studying them, we learn about the frequency of impacts, the types of bodies traveling through space, and the violent processes that shaped planets. Earth, too, has been struck by countless asteroids, but wind, rain, and tectonics have erased many of the scars. The moon, in contrast, keeps its memories. Every crater is a reminder of cosmic violence and survival, frozen forever in silence. Fact 9. The moon's seas are not seas at all. When you look at the moon, you may notice darker, smoother areas that seem to form patterns. These were once thought to be seas or oceans, and so they were named Maria, which is Latin for seas. But these areas are not filled with water. Instead, they are vast plains of hardened lava. Billions of years ago, the moon was geologically active. When massive asteroids slammed into its surface, they cracked the crust, and molten rock from the interior flowed out, flooding the lowlands. As this lava cooled, it created the dark plains we see today. These Maria covered about 16% of the moon's surface, almost entirely on the near side. Scientists believe this is because the crust on the near side is thinner, making it easier for lava to flow out there. To the naked eye, the Maria create familiar shapes. Some people see a rabbit. Others, a feast, famously called the man in the moon. For ancient stargazers, these dark shapes were full of meaning, interpreted as gods, animals, or omens. Today, we know they are remnants of volcanic activity long past, but they still add character to the moon's appearance. Imagine standing on one of these plains, flat, dark, stretching to the horizon, with jagged crater walls in the distance. Though silent now, these Maria tell us the moon was once alive with fire, its heart molten and restless. Now, they rest like seas frozen in stone, calm and eternal. Fact 10. The moon influences human culture and imagination. Beyond its physical features, the moon's greatest impact may be on the human spirit. Across every culture and every age, the moon has been a source of stories, beliefs, and inspiration. In ancient Mesopotamia, it was worshipped as a god. In Greece, the goddess Selene was thought to drive her glowing chariot across the night sky. In China, the moon is central to the Mid-Autumn festival, symbolizing unity and family. Indigenous peoples across the world built calendars based on its cycles, marking time by the waxing and waning of its light. Even today, many people feel the pull of the moon in their emotions, moods, and creativity. Poets have written endless verses to it. Lovers have promised eternal devotion beneath it, and artists have painted it in every imaginable shade of silver. Some believe the full moon stirs strange behaviors, giving rise to the word lunacy, derived from Luna, the Roman goddess of the moon. Scientific studies on this are inconclusive, but the idea endures because the moon feels mysterious, otherworldly, yet ever-present. In modern times, the moon continues to inspire exploration. The Apollo landings ignited dreams of human expansion beyond Earth, while new missions plan to return and perhaps even build bases there. The moon connects us not just to the cosmos, but to each other, reminding us of shared myths, shared nights, and shared wonder. It is more than a celestial object. It is a mirror for humanity's imagination, shining softly across the ages. Fact 11. The moon has mountains taller than anything in Europe. When people imagine the moon, they often picture a flat, gray surface. But in reality, the moon's landscape is dramatic, with soaring mountains and deep valleys. Some of its peaks rival the tallest on Earth. One example is Mons Huygens, the highest mountain on the moon, which rises about 4,700 meters tall. That's higher than Mont Blanc in the Alps, the tallest mountain in Europe. Imagine standing on its summit looking out across a horizon that stretches under an alien sky, where Earth itself hangs above like a glowing marble. These lunar mountains were not built the same way Earth's mountains were. On Earth, tectonic plates collide, pushing up ranges like the Himalayas. But on the moon, most mountains were created by ancient impacts. When massive asteroids slammed into the surface, they threw up walls of rock, forming towering ranges along crater rims. Over billions of years, those peaks have remained sharp and frozen, untouched by erosion. On Earth, wind, rain, and ice carve down mountains. But on the moon, nothing softens them. They stand like eternal monuments to cosmic violence. For astronauts gazing at them from orbit, these mountains were hauntingly beautiful, stark and jagged, glowing under the harsh light of the sun. The sight of such alien peaks, rising out of great plains, shows us that the moon is far more varied and dramatic than the smooth disk we see from Earth. Fact 12. The moon once had volcanoes. Though today the moon seems geologically dead, there was a time when it was alive with fire. Billions of years ago, volcanic activity reshaped the lunar surface. When large impacts fractured its crust, molten rock from the interior welled up, flooding basins and creating the vast dark plains we now call Maria. Some volcanoes formed domes and small cones, evidence that lava once bubbled and erupted. These eruptions were not fiery fountains like high-ease volcanoes, but rather slow flows of basaltic lava that spread across the surface. The last volcanic activity on the moon is thought to have occurred about 1 billion years ago, though some evidence suggests smaller eruptions may have happened as recently as 100 million years ago still, ancient by human standards, but relatively recent in cosmic time. Standing on one of these frozen lava plains today, you would see a landscape that speaks of a fiery past. The ground would be dark, dense rock, smoother than the rugged highlands, with occasional ridges where lava once pushed and cooled. For ancient humans, looking at the moon, those dark patches became part of myths, interpreted as symbols and creatures. They had no way of knowing these shapes were scars of ancient volcanoes, frozen reminders that the moon once burned with internal heat. The silence we see today hides a history of fire, a world that was once far more dynamic than its present stillness suggests. Fact 30. There are cold traps on the moon where ice can survive. The moon has no atmosphere and is blasted by sunlight, so one might think it could never hold ice. Yet in some places, water ice exists, hidden in shadows that sunlight never touches. Near the lunar poles, there are deep craters where the sun's rays never reach. In these places, called cold traps, temperatures can drop to minus 240 degrees Celsius, colder than Pluto. In such frigid conditions, any water molecules that find their way there can remain frozen for billions of years. Scientists believe comets or asteroids may have delivered this water, or that solar wind particles interacting with the lunar surface produced it. This discovery excites scientists and explorers alike, because water is essential for life and exploration. Future astronauts could use it for drinking, for making oxygen to breathe, and even for fuel by splitting it into hydrogen and oxygen. Imagine standing at the edge of a shadowed crater, the sun blazing behind you, while before you lies an eternal night so cold it preserves ancient ice. This juxtaposition, burning heat, just meters away, and deadly cold in the darkness mix. The moon, a place of extremes. The existence of ice also raises fascinating questions about the history of water in the solar system. If frozen reserves exist on the moon, untouched for billions of years, they could contain clues about the origins of water on Earth itself. Fact 14. The moon has quakes, but they are not like earthquakes. It may surprise you to learn that the moon is not completely still. Seismometers placed by Apollo astronauts revealed that the moon experiences quakes, known as moonquakes. These come in several types. Some are caused by the cooling and shrinking of the lunar crust, which creates cracks and tremors. Others are triggered by meteorite impacts, or the tidal pool of Earth's gravity. The most mysterious are deep moonquakes that happen hundreds of kilometers below the surface, repeating at regular intervals, possibly linked to tidal stresses. While most moonquakes are mild, some shallow ones can be surprisingly strong, reaching magnitude 5 on the Richter scale. That is enough to rattle buildings if the moon had any. Without air or water to dampen the vibrations, these quakes can last far longer than earthquakes, sometimes shaking the ground for up to 10 minutes. Imagine standing on the moon's surface, feeling the ground tremble beneath you. The silence broken only by the faint hum of your spacesuit systems. Moonquakes remind us that even a seemingly dead world is not entirely at rest. They also pose challenges for future settlers. If humans build bases on the moon, they will need to account for these quakes, ensuring habitats can withstand the shaking. Beyond the practical, moonquakes make the moon feel more alive, less like a static rock and more like a world with its own rhythms and hidden forces. Fact 15. The moon has played a role in navigation for thousands of years. Long before GPS satellites guided ships and planes, humans looked to the skies for direction. The moon, with its predictable phases and path, became a crucial tool for navigation. Ancient sailors used the moon's rising and setting to help chart courses across vast oceans. In some cultures, calendars were based not on the sun but on the moon, each month beginning with a new moon. Polynesian navigators, among the greatest seafarers in history, combined the moon's position with stars and ocean swells to voyage across thousands of kilometers of open sea. Even in more recent centuries, the moon was vital for a method called lunar distance, used by sailors to determine longitude before accurate clocks existed. By measuring the angle between the moon and certain stars, navigators could calculate their position on Earth with surprising precision. Beyond its practical use, the moon also served as a psychological anchor. Imagine being a sailor in the middle of the ocean, with endless dark waves all around, and then looking up to see the familiar glow of the moon. It was a reminder that no matter how far you traveled, you were still under the same sky as your home. Today, satellites have replaced celestial navigation, but the moon remains a timeless guide, a symbol of orientation, both physical and emotional, reminding us that direction can always be found in its steady path across the heavens. Fact 16. The moon's surface is covered in a fine dust called regolith. When astronauts first set foot on the moon, one of the most surprising discoveries was the texture of the ground beneath their boots. The surface wasn't smooth rock or hard-packed dirt. It was coated with a layer of extremely fine, powdery material known as lunar regolith. This dust is unlike anything on Earth. Because the moon has no wind or water to erode rocks gently, its dust is created by billions of years of meteorite impacts that shattered and ground the surface into tiny, jagged particles. Each grain is sharp, almost glass-like, because nothing smooths its edges. Astronauts describe walking in it as similar to trudging through soft snow. Yet it clung to their suits and equipment, sticking to everything it touched. Some even reported it smelled like burnt gunpowder once they returned to the lunar module and the dust mixed with air. Lunar regolith is more than just an inconvenience. It is a record of cosmic history. Locked within it are tiny fragments of glass formed by impacts microscopic particles from the solar wind, and traces of the moon's volcanic past. For future explorers, regolith may even become a resource, providing raw material for construction or shielding against radiation. Yet it also presents hazards, its sharp particles potentially harmful if inhaled. This paradox dust, that is both a danger and a treasure, makes lunar regolith one of the moon's most intriguing features. It is both a blanket that preserves history and a challenge that awaits those who will one day live and work on our nearest neighbor. Fact 17. The moon has a faint, ghostly atmosphere. At first glance, the moon seems completely airless, but technically, it does have an atmosphere so thin and fragile that scientists call it an exosphere. Unlike Earth's thick atmosphere, which blankets the planet and allows us to breathe, the moon's exosphere is made of only a few molecules spread far apart. It is composed mainly of helium, neon, and hydrogen, along with traces of other gases like argon and sodium. This atmosphere is so tenuous that if you gathered all of it together, it would fit inside a single large truck. Yet it is significant because it shows that the moon is not entirely inert. These gases come from various sources. Some are released from the lunar soil when struck by solar radiation, while others arrive from the solar wind itself, streaming in from the sun. During certain times, such as meteor showers, sodium and potassium atoms can be knocked loose from the surface, creating a delicate glow that extends around the moon. For an astronaut standing there, the exosphere would be invisible, but its presence can be measured with sensitive instruments. This ghostly envelope demonstrates how even in the silence of space, the moon interacts constantly with its environment. It breathes in its own quiet way, exchanging particles with the solar wind, holding on to them for a while, and releasing them back into space. This fragile balance reminds us of the difference between Earth and its companion, and of the precious thickness of the air we often take for granted on our own world. Fact 18. The moon affects animals and plants on Earth. The pull of the moon extends far beyond tides in the ocean. It influences life itself. For countless generations, animals have responded to the moon's rhythms. Sea turtles, for instance, use the brightness of the full moon to guide them as they lay eggs on beaches. Some species of fish spawn in synchrony with the lunar cycle, releasing their eggs and sperm during full or new moons when tides are highest. Even corals in tropical seas time their mass spawning events to the phases of the moon, creating dazzling underwater spectacles of life. On land, nocturnal animals are also guided by moonlight. Predators such as owls may hunt more effectively under bright moons, while prey animals adjust their activity to avoid being seen. Humans, too, have long suspected that the moon influences behavior, with folklore linking full moons to restlessness, sleeplessness, or even madness, though science finds only limited evidence for these effects. Some studies suggest subtle influences on sleep patterns and mood. Plants, too, may be affected. Farmers in various traditions have planted and harvested crops according to lunar calendars, believing the moon's phases could influence growth. While the scientific basis is debated, the practice persists, connecting agriculture to the rhythms of the sky. This blending of biology, culture, and astronomy shows how deeply the moon is woven into the fabric of life. Its silent presence has been a clock for the oceans, a lantern for the night, and a signal for countless creatures across Earth's ecosystems. Fact 19. The moon was crucial in proving Einstein's theories. When Albert Einstein proposed his theory of general relativity in the early 20th century, it revolutionized our understanding of gravity. But proving such bold ideas required careful tests. One way the moon played a role was through experiments involving its motion. General relativity predicted that Earth and the moon should fall toward the sun at the same rate, despite their different masses and compositions. This idea, known as the equivalence principle, could be tested by precisely tracking the moon's orbit. To do this, scientists used a remarkable tool left by Apollo astronauts. These are arrays of mirrors placed on the lunar surface, which reflect laser beams sent from Earth. By measuring the time it takes for the light to return, scientists can calculate the Earth-Moon distance with millimeter precision. Decades of such measurements have confirmed that the moon moves exactly as Einstein's theory predicts, offering some of the most convincing evidence for relativity. In addition, these experiments have helped us understand tidal interactions. and even test for subtle variations in gravity. So, while the moon has inspired poets and dreamers, it has also served as a laboratory for some of the most profound scientific insights of the modern age. Every time a laser beam bounces off those quiet mirrors on the moon, we are reminded that our celestial neighbor is not just a companion in the sky, it is an active participant in unlocking the mysteries of the universe. Fact 20. Without the moon, Earth would be a very different world. Perhaps the most profound fact of all is the role the moon has played in shaping Earth itself. Without the moon, our planet might not be the life-filled world we know today. One of its greatest influences is on Earth's tilt. The gravitational pull of the moon stabilizes the tilt of Earth's axis, keeping it steady at about 23.5 degrees. Without this stabilizing effect, the tilt would wobble chaotically over time, leading to extreme climate swings. Seasons might become unpredictable, with ice ages and scorching eras occurring irregularly, making it far harder for complex life to evolve and thrive. The moon also slows Earth's rotation, lengthening our days. Billions of years ago, a day on Earth may have lasted only 6 hours, but thanks to the moon's tidal-breaking days have stretched to the 24 hours. We know now, giving life more balanced rhythms of day and night. Even the tides, driven by the moon, have played a key role in nurturing early life. In shallow tidal pools, where water ebbed and flowed, some of the first complex organisms may have taken shape, adapting to cycles that continue to govern nature today. Imagine an Earth without the moon, its nights truly dark, its climates unstable, its oceans still but lifeless. It is no exaggeration to say that the moon is not merely a companion, but a partner in Earth's story, a quiet architect of the conditions that made us possible. Fact 21. The moon has seas that are not seas at all. When early astronomers looked at the moon through their primitive telescopes, they noticed vast, dark patches across its face. They thought these areas might be oceans and gave them the Latin name Maria, meaning seas. For centuries, people imagined that the moon could have water, filled basins, perhaps even supporting life. But when spacecraft finally visited, we discovered the truth. The lunar Maria are not seas of water but plains of ancient lava. Billions of years ago, after giant impacts scarred the surface, molten rock from the moon's interior welled up and flooded the craters, hardening into dark basalt rock. These Maria cover about 16% of the lunar surface, giving the moon its distinctive pattern of light and dark that we see from Earth. To the naked eye, they form the familiar face of the moon, with some cultures interpreting them as a rabbit, a man, or even a frog. Standing on the moon, however, an astronaut would see a flat, rocky expanse stretching for miles, silent and still, with jagged highlands rising in the distance. Though dry and lifeless, these Maria preserve records of volcanic activity and cosmic impacts, helping scientists understand not only the moon's history, but also the early history of Earth. The Maria remind us that appearances can be deceiving. What looks like a calm sea from Earth is in reality a frozen ocean of stone, a silent witness to fiery ages long past. Fact 22. The far side of the moon is not always dark. A common misconception is that one half of the moon is permanently dark. People often call it the dark side of the moon, but this is misleading. The moon is tidally locked, meaning it always shows the same face to Earth, but both sides receive sunlight. As the moon orbits Earth, sunlight sweeps across its entire surface, day by day. The far side, the hemisphere we cannot see from Earth, experiences its own lunar days and nights just as the near side does. The only reason it remained mysterious for so long is that it is hidden from our view. It wasn't until 1959 that the Soviet Luna 3 probe captured the first blurry photographs of the far side, revealing a landscape surprisingly different from the side we know. While the near side is marked by wide Maria, the far side is dominated by rugged highlands and countless craters. The imbalance has puzzled scientists. Why would one hemisphere be smoother and darker while the other is rougher and brighter? One theory suggests that early in its history, the moon's crust cooled unevenly, with the far side developing a thicker crust that resisted lava flooding. Today, spacecraft orbiting the moon map this hidden face in exquisite detail, and some of the most ambitious plans for future exploration involve setting up telescopes or even bases there, where Earth's radio noise cannot interfere. So, the dark side of the moon is not dark. and all just a reminder of how perspective shapes our understanding of the universe. Fact 23. The moon creates a rhythm of eclipses. One of the most dramatic sights in the sky is a lunar or solar eclipse, and both are made possible by the moon. A lunar eclipse occurs when Earth's shadow falls across the moon, turning it a haunting shade of red. This blood moon happens only during a full moon, when the sun, Earth, and moon line up perfectly. The red glow comes from sunlight bending through Earth's atmosphere, filtering out blue light and leaving only the fiery hues. A solar eclipse, by contrast, happens when the moon passes between Earth and the sun, blocking its light. Total solar eclipses are rare and awe-inspiring, plunging day into twilight for just a few minutes. What makes these events extraordinary is the coincidence of size. Though the moon is about 400 times smaller than the sun, it is also about 400 times closer to Earth, making the two appear almost the same size in our sky. This allows the moon to cover the sun completely, creating the dramatic spectacle of a total eclipse. Over time, however, this perfect alignment is slipping away. The moon is slowly drifting farther from Earth, at about 3.8 centimeters per year. Millions of years from now, it will appear too small to cover the sun entirely, and total eclipses will no longer occur. For now, though, eclipses remain a rhythm of cosmic geometry, reminders of the delicate balances that shape our experience of the heavens. Fact 24. The moon was born from a colossal collision. Perhaps the most astonishing fact about the moon is its origin. The leading theory, known as the giant impact hypothesis, suggests that about 4.5 billion years ago, a Mars-sized body named Theia collided with the young Earth. The impact was unimaginably violent, blasting molten rock and debris into space. Over time, this material coalesced under gravity, forming the moon. Evidence for this theory comes from the moon AC composition, which closely resembles Earth's mantle, and from computer simulations showing how such a collision could produce a stable Earth-Moon system. This cataclysmic event may have been essential to the story of life. The impact not only created the moon but also reshaped Earth, giving it its current tilt and spin. Without that collision, Earth might be unrecognizable, today perhaps lacking the stable climate that allowed life to flourish. When we look at the moon, we are seeing a relic of violence transformed into harmony, a scar of the early solar system that became a guiding light for all of human history. The moon is not just a companion in the sky, it is a fragment of Earth itself, a piece of our planet's past forever bound to us. Fact 25. Humans may one day live on the moon for millennia. The moon was a distant dream, unreachable and mysterious. But today, we stand on the edge of a new era, where humans may once again walk upon its surface and, perhaps stay. NASA's Artemis program, along with international partners, plans to return astronauts to the moon in the coming years. Not just for brief visits, but with the goal of establishing a sustained presence. Future bases may be built in the lunar South Pole, where permanently shadowed craters may hold ice that can be turned into drinking water, breathable oxygen, and even rocket fuel. Advances in technology suggest that lunar regolith could be used as building material, protecting habitats from radiation and micrometeors. Robots may assist in mining resources, constructing shelters, or exploring caves and lava tubes that could serve as natural habitats. For scientists, a lunar base would be a laboratory unlike any other, offering chances to study the moon's geology, test technologies for Mars, and even set up telescopes shielded from Earth's noise. For humanity would mark a new chapter in exploration, much like the settlement of continents long ago. The idea of children one day looking up at the moon and knowing people live there, calling it home, transforms it from a distant orb to a world of possibilities. Just as our ancestors once crossed oceans guided by the moon's light, we may soon cross space to make the moon part of our greater human story. Fact 26. The moon is slowly moving away from Earth. One of the most subtle yet significant facts about the moon is that it is not fixed in place, it is slowly drifting away. Laser experiments, using reflectors left on the surface by Apollo astronauts, have shown that the moon is receding from Earth at a rate of about 3.8 centimeters per year. Over a human lifetime, that shift is hardly noticeable, but over millions of years it adds up. When dinosaurs roamed the Earth, the moon was much closer, and the tides were stronger. If you could stand on ancient shores, you would have seen tides that surged higher and retreated more dramatically than today. In the far future, Hundreds of millions of years from now, the moon will appear smaller in the sky, and the spectacle of total solar eclipses will vanish. This gradual separation is part of a cosmic dance, the result of tidal forces transferring energy from Earth's rotation to the moon's orbit. Our day is lengthening as the moon drifts, away by a fraction of a second every century. It is a quiet reminder that even things that seem eternal are slowly changing. The moon's distance tells us that nothing in the universe is truly static. Everything is in motion, even when it feels timeless. Fact 27. The moon has quakes. We often imagine the moon is frozen and silent, but it is not completely geologically dead. The moon experiences moonquakes, some triggered by tidal stresses from Earth's gravity, others by thermal expansion as the lunar surface heats and cools, and a few by deep activity within the moon itself. Apollo seismometers recorded quakes strong enough to rattle equipment, lasting up to an hour. Unlike earthquakes, which are dampened by Earth's molten interior and water-filled crust, moonquakes reverberate for longer because the moon is dry, rigid, and brittle. Astronauts described it as though the moon rang like a bell. These quakes remind us that the moon is not a mere rock in space, but a body still shifting and adjusting to forces that shape it. For future lunar settlers, moonquakes will be more than a curiosity. They will be a factor in how habitats are built, where structures are placed, and how fragile equipment is secured. They also offer scientists clues about the moon's internal structure, helping us peer beneath the surface to understand its layered history. Fact 28. The moon has no weather, but it changes. On Earth, landscapes are constantly reshaped by wind, rain, and rivers. The moon, with no atmosphere, lacks weather in that sense. But it is far from unchanging. Micrometeoroids strike its surface constantly, grinding rock into fine dust. The solar wind streams of charged particles from the sun bombards the surface, altering the chemistry of lunar soil. Temperature extremes crack rocks as they expand in blazing heat and contract in freezing cold. Over millions of years, these forces subtly reshape the surface. The footprints of Apollo astronauts remain undisturbed, but over eons, even those will fade. This slow transformation is like a whisper of time, a record etched grain by grain. When scientists study lunar soil, they can detect the space weathering effects of billions of years, preserved in glassy particles and tiny changes in mineral color. The moon may not have clouds or storms, but it is still alive with quiet, relentless processes that sculpt its face. Fact 29. The moon has played a role in human timekeeping. Before mechanical clocks, before digital screens, before even the invention of writing, humans looked to the sky to measure time. The moon, with its predictable phases, was among our earliest calendars. A lunar month 29.5 days was easy to observe and became the basis for countless cultural systems of time. The word month itself comes from moon. In Mesopotamia, priests tracked the lunar cycle to predict eclipses. The ancient Egyptians used the rising of the crescent moon to guide festivals. Farmers across civilizations sowed and harvested crops in rhythm with the moon. Even today, Islamic, Hindu, and East Asian calendars remain tied to lunar months, weaving ancient patterns into modern lives. The moon's presence gave humanity a natural clock in the heavens, linking us to cycles larger than ourselves. Imagine standing thousands of years ago, far from electricity, far from cities, and looking up. The glow of the moon would not just be beauty, it would be guidance, structure, a heartbeat of time itself. Fact 30. The moon is a source of inspiration for art and dreams. Beyond its science and its influence on Earth, the moon has always touched something deeper in human imagination. Poets write of longing under its glow. Painters capture its pale face in landscapes of mystery. Musicians compose under its light, weaving melodies as soft and silver as moonbeams. In lighter terms, the moon is sometimes a symbol of madness. Lunacy comes from lunabut. It is also a symbol of calm, of reflection, hidden truths revealed at night. For lovers, the moon is a companion during moments of intimacy. For children, it is a friend watching over them as they sleep. Even now, in an age of science and technology, the moon retains its magic. Think of how many people pause during a full moon to take a photograph, to look up quietly, or to share a moment of wonder. That simple act of connection ties us back to every generation that ever lived under its light. The moon is not just rock and dust, it is story, myth, emotion. It belongs to our collective human soul as much as it belongs to space. Fact 31. The moon's subtle glow beyond sunlight. When we look up at the moon, it often feels as though it shines with its own light. In reality, the moon is a great mirror, reflecting the sun's rays. But beyond this simple fact lies something more delicate, a faint phenomenon called earthshine. When sunlight hits our planet, part of it reflects back into space, and some of that light lands softly on the moon's dark side, giving it a ghostly glow. Imagine standing on the lunar surface during this moment. You will say, Earth shining like a blue jewel in the blackness of space, casting a faint light across the rocky landscape. This soft illumination, sometimes called the old moon in the new moon's arms, has inspired poets, artists, and dreamers for centuries. It's almost like a cosmic whisper, a reminder that the earth and moon are locked in an eternal embrace. Ancient stargazers didn't have scientific explanations, but they still noticed this glow and wove stories around it. For them, it was the moon keeping secrets of the earth's reflection, a quiet bond between the two celestial partners. As you drift toward sleep, imagine that silvery earth shine wrapping the moon in a blanket of gentle light, timeless and eternal. Fact 32. The moon's librations. Its subtle dance. The moon seems to show us only one face, yet this is not entirely true. Because of a gentle rocking motion known as libration, over time we can see about 59% of the moon's surface, not just half. This rocking is caused by the moon's slightly tilted orbit and its elliptical path around Earth. If you could watch the moon every night carefully, you'd notice tiny shifts. Sometimes a little more of the eastern edge is visible, sometimes a little more of the western edge. It's as though the moon is nodding or shaking its head ever so slightly, whispering yes or no to the questions humanity has asked for millennia. To ancient astronomers, this subtle motion was a mystery. They thought the moon might be alive, tilting its head like a listener in the sky. Today, with telescopes and measurements, we know the scientific explanation, yet the poetry remains. The moon, in its quiet dance, reminds us that even something steady has gentle variations, hidden surprises that only reveal themselves if you watch patiently. For those lying awake beneath the night sky, libration is a lullaby in motion, a cosmic sway that echoes the rhythm of breath. Fact 33. The moon and the tides of time. The tides we see on Earth, those gentle risings and fallings of the oceans, are guided by the pull of the moon's gravity. Without the moon, our planet's tides would be far weaker, and life as we know it might never have developed in the same way. The tides create natural rhythms, influencing the behavior of marine creatures, guiding ancient sailors, and shaping coastlines. Some scientists even suggest that tidal pools, billions of years ago, alternately filled and emptied by the moon's pull, may have been where the first sparks of life began. Imagine early Earth, small organisms exposed to cycles of wet and dry, forced to adapt, forced to grow. All of this, subtly guided by the moon's hand. The moon has been like a conductor, orchestrating life's rhythms through gravity's invisible threads. Even now, humans still move with the tides. Fishermen, surfers, travelers, and dreamers all feel the moon's influence whether they realize it or not. And when you hear the sound of waves at night, rolling softly against the shore, that too is a lullaby written by the moon. Every crash and retreat of the ocean carries a piece of lunar music. Fact 34. The moon in myth and madness. The very word lunacy comes from luna, the Latin name for the moon. For centuries, people believed the phases of the moon could affect human behavior, stirring restlessness, dreams, or even madness. Full moons especially were surrounded by superstition. Farmers timed harvests, doctors watched patients, and storytellers spun tales of werewolves. Even today, some people claim they sleep less deeply when the moon is full, as if its light keeps them tethered to wakefulness. Scientific studies have found small patterns suggesting lunar cycles may subtly affect sleep, though not as dramatically as myths suggest. Yet myths have their own truth. They reveal how deeply humans feel connected to the sky. The moon has always been a mirror, not only of sunlight, but of our imaginations. In its pale face, we've seen gods, spirits, omens, and reflections of our own moods. When you hear the word lunatic, it carries echoes of a time when the moon was thought to hold sway over our very minds. And perhaps, in a way, it still does, pulling not just on oceans, but on the tides of thought and dream. Fact 35. The silent surface. A world without weather on Earth. Weather is always changing. Clouds drift, winds howl, rain falls. But on the moon, silence reigns. There is no atmosphere thick enough to carry wind or storms. The sky is always black, the horizon sharp, and the surface unchanging except for the occasional meteor strike. If you were standing there, you'd notice the stillness. Most of all, shadows are sharp. Temperatures swing wildly from boiling heat in the day to freezing cold at night. But no breeze ever brushes the skin. The moon is a place where time seems frozen, where footprints can last millions of years, untouched by rain or wind. When Apollo astronauts walked there, they left behind tracks that will remain until the moon itself is reshaped by impacts. This makes the lunar surface almost like a library of cosmic memory, keeping records far longer than Earth could ever manage. In this silence, there is something profoundly calming. The absence of weather means the moon is a world of stillness, a reminder of the peace that comes when nothing stirs. To imagine as you fall asleep is to step into a quiet unlike any found on Earth. Fact 36. The moon's hidden far side. When we gaze at the moon, we always see the same familiar face. Craters like Tycho and seas like Mare Tranquillitatis become etched in memory. Yet, there is another half to a far side that remained unknown to humanity until the space age. For millennia, people wondered what lay beyond, and legends grew of hidden lands and mysterious civilizations. Without it, our planet's axis could wobble chaotically, tilting from side to side over millions of years. This would mean wild swings in climate, making life far more unstable. Imagine summers of blistering heat, followed by winters of endless cold, or forests where deserts once stood. Today the volcanoes are silent, frozen in time, but they tell us that the moon, though quiet now, once had fire in its heart. It is like an elder whose youth was full of energy, now resting in eternal stillness. Fact 40. The moon and human exploration. The Apollo missions of the 1960s and 70s marked one of humanity's greatest achievements, setting foot on another world. Fact 41. The moon's craters. Records of time. Every crater on the moon is like a page in a cosmic history book. Unlike Earth, where wind, rain, and tectonic forces erase scars, the moon keeps its wounds forever. Craters form when meteoroids, asteroids, or comets slam into the lunar surface at incredible speeds, releasing energy equal to nuclear bombs. Some are small pockmarks, barely visible. Others are immense, stretching hundreds of kilometers wide. Take Tycho, for example, a young crater only about 108 million years old, with brilliant rays that stretched like silver spokes across the moon's face. Then there is the colossal South Poleitkin Basin, one of the largest known impact structures in the solar system, spanning 2,500 kilometers. Scientists study these craters to learn not only about the moon's history, but also about the history of the entire solar system. Each impact tells a story of celestial traffic, of a time when planets and moons were bombarded more fiercely than today. For dreamers, the craters are like lunar freckles, giving the moon its distinctive face. As you drift to sleep, imagine tracing those craters like constellations on a quiet world where time leaves permanent marks. Fact 42. The moon's magnetic mysteries. Unlike Earth, the moon today has no global magnetic field, yet lunar rocks brought back by Apollo astronauts show traces of magnetism, suggesting that billions of years ago, the moon had a molten core generating its own magnetic shield. This raises questions. How did such a small body, only a quarter the size of Earth, sustain a magnetic field for so long? Scientists believe early in its history, the moon's core churned with enough energy to create a dynamo, much like Earth's. Over time, as the moon cooled and its core solidified, this protective bubble faded. Still, patches of magnetism remain in certain regions of the crust, mysterious remnants of a once active heart. Some craters even have strange magnetic anomalies, creating mini magnetic fields strong enough to deflect the solar wind. For a place that seems so silent and still, the moon hides a magnetic past, echoing with invisible forces. To picture it while you rest is to imagine the moon not as a lifeless rock, but as a once vibrant world, humming with unseen energy beneath its surface. Fact 43. The moon and eclipses. Few events inspire awe like a lunar eclipse. When Earth moves between the sun and the moon, our shadow sweeps across the lunar surface, turning it a deep red. This blood moon occurs because Earth's atmosphere bends and scatters sunlight. The blue and green light is filtered out, while the red passes through, painting the moon in fiery hues. Ancient people saw eclipses as omens. In some cultures, they were battles between celestial beings. In others, they were signs of change. Today, we know the science, but the magic remains. During a total eclipse, the air on Earth grows hushed. Animals stir as if night has fallen, and the moon glows with an otherworldly beauty. Imagine standing on the lunar surface during an eclipse. You would see the Earth blocking out the sun, its atmosphere glowing like a red halo in the black sky. To witness that would be to see our planet crowned in fire, a sight both haunting and serene. Lunar eclipses remind us that the Earth, moon, and sun are dancers in a cosmic ballet, aligning perfectly from time to time to create spectacles that stir both science and soul. Fact 44. The moon's role in calendars. For most of human history, the moon was our clock. Its phases marked time, guiding farmers when to plant, sailors when to sail, and communities when to celebrate festivals. The word month itself comes from moon. Many ancient calendars, from the Babylonian to the Chinese, were lunar or lunis, blending the moon's cycles with the sun's. Even today, major holidays like Ramadan, Easter, and the Lunar New Year are tied to the moon's rhythm. Watching the moon wax and wane gave ancient people a sense of order in the sky, a pattern they could rely on. Unlike the sun, which blazes and blinds, the moon could be stared at night after night, a gentle teacher of time. Its steady cycle of about 29.5 days became a heartbeat for civilizations. Without the moon, human history might have unfolded differently, with less order, less connection to the heavens. Even now, in an age of digital clocks and satellites, the moon still shapes our calendars, reminding us of a time when we lived more closely by the rhythms of the sky. Fact 45. The moon is a silent witness. The moon has been watching Earth for billions of years. It has seen continents drift, oceans rise and fall, species appear and vanish. It shone on the first forests, the first animals crawling onto land, the first humans lighting fires in the dark. It witnessed empires rise and crumble, wars rage and peace return. It was there for every love confessed under its glow, every poem written, every lullaby sung. Unlike Earth, with its shifting weather and erasing winds, the moon remembers. Its surface holds the footprints of astronauts, the tracks of rovers, the debris of human ambition, all preserved in silence. For countless generations, people have looked up at the same moon, feeling connected across time and space. When you see it tonight, you see what ancient Egyptians saw, what Shakespeare saw, what distant ancestors saw as they dreamed of tomorrow. The moon is more than rock, and dust. It is a witness to the story of life on Earth. And as you drift toward sleep, you can take comfort knowing that in this vast universe, there is always a familiar face watching quietly, faithfully, from above. Fact 46. The moon's hidden side. The far side. When we look up at the night sky, we always see the same face of the moon. This happens because the moon is tidally locked to Earth. It rotates on its axis at the same rate that it orbits our planet. But this means half the moon, the far side, remained a mystery to humanity for most of history. Many once called it the dark side, but that's a misnomer. It receives just as much sunlight as the near side. It was only in 1959, when the Soviet spacecraft Luna 3 sent back the first images, that we glimpsed its hidden face. The far side looks very different from the familiar front. Fewer Maria, more craters, and rugged highlands. Later missions revealed that its crust is thicker, perhaps because of how the moon formed. Today, spacecraft like China's Change 4 have even landed on the far side, opening a new chapter in exploration. For dreamers, the far side of the moon remains a realm of mystery and imagination, a place where stories of secret worlds and hidden cities have been woven. As you close your eyes, imagine floating above the far side, seeing landscapes no human eye saw until a few decades ago. A reminder that even the closest worlds can still hold secrets. Fact 47. The moon's influence on art and poetry, from ancient hymns to modern music. The moon has inspired creativity for millennia. In Chinese poetry, it is often a symbol of longing and reunion, glowing above lovers separated by distance. In Western art, it has been painted as both a gentle light and a haunting specter. Romantic poets like Shelley and Byron wrote of moonlit nights stirring emotions too deep for daylight. Painters like Van Gogh captured it as a glowing orb in turbulent skies, infusing the moon with movement and soul, even in music from Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata to modern lullabies. Its presence is felt. The moon bridges cultures, speaking in a language beyond words. When people gaze at it, their hearts are moved, their imaginations sparked. There is something universal about its beauty, constant yet ever-changing, familiar yet mysterious. Think of how many millions have whispered their secrets to the moon, finding comfort in its silent company. It is not just a rock in space. It is a mirror of our emotions, shaping our art as much as it shapes the tides. Fact 48. The moon in sleep. For centuries, people have believed the moon influences sleep. Folklore suggested that full moons bring restless nights, strange dreams. Even Lunacy, the word itself, comes from luna, meaning moon. Modern science has investigated these beliefs, and while results are mixed, some studies suggest that during a full moon, people may sleep less deeply and take longer to fall asleep. One theory is psychological. The brighter light of a full moon may have disrupted ancient humans' rest before the invention of blinds and artificial lighting. Another theory is evolutionary. Our ancestors may have been more alert during bright nights, watching for predators. Whatever the cause, the idea persists. Many still report vivid dreams under a glowing moon. For those who struggle to sleep, it can feel as though the moon itself is watching, whispering thoughts that stir the mind. But perhaps there is comfort, too, in knowing that across time, others have looked up at that same moon during sleepless nights, feeling its quiet companionship. It turns insomnia into something almost poetic, a shared experience under the same silver light. Fact 49. The moon in mythology and legends, every culture has woven myths around the moon. In Greek mythology, Selene was the goddess who drove her silver chariot across the night sky. In Hindu stories, Chandra is the lunar deity, radiant and powerful. The Japanese tell of the moon princess Kaguya, who came from the heavens and returned, leaving behind heartbreak. The Aztecs saw the moon as a divine being scarred by fire. In Norse legends, the moon was chased across the sky by a wolf, fated to be caught at the world's end. These stories reveal humanity's longing to explain the moon's beauty and its cycles. It was never enough to see it as a rock. We filled it with meaning, with gods and goddesses, with tales of love, loss, and destiny. Even now, these myths survive in festivals, literature, and art, shaping how we think of the moon. They remind us that science and story can live side by side. The moon is both a celestial body and a canvas for the imagination. As you drift to sleep, picture those myths swirling around the moon like whispers, ancient voices still alive in its glow. Fact 50. The future of the moon. A new frontier. For most of history, the moon was unreachable, a distant dream. Then in 1969, humans set foot on it, proving that the impossible was possible. Today, attention is turning back to the moon not just as a place of exploration, but as a potential home. NASA's Artemis program plans to establish a sustainable presence, building lunar bases where astronauts can live and work. Other nations, too, are planning missions. China, India, Europe all see the moon as a stepping stone to Mars and beyond. The moon could provide resources like water ice, which can be turned into fuel, oxygen, and drinking water. Its surface could host telescopes, shielded from Earth's noise, to peer deeper into the universe. For dreamers, the idea of lunar colonies sparks visions of cities under domes, children playing in low gravity, and Earth rising as a jewel in the black sky. The moon, once just a muse, may soon become a neighbor we visit often. And as you fall asleep, imagine that future humans walking once more across the lunar dust. Building lives on the world that has watched over us for so long. Fact 51. The moon and agriculture. Ancient lunar calendars for thousands of years. Before mechanical clocks and digital calendars, humans looked to the moon to measure time. Its reliable cycle from new moon to full and back again takes about 29.5 days, almost exactly a month. Ancient civilizations built lunar calendars to guide planting and harvesting. The Babylonians, for example, carefully tracked the moon to predict seasons. In China, festivals like the Mid-Autumn Festival remain tied to the lunar calendar. Farmers believe certain moon phases influenced crop growth. Planting under a waxing moon, when light grows, was thought to encourage upward growth like leaves and stems, while a waning moon, when light fades, was linked with root crops. Though modern science finds little evidence of these effects, the practice persists in folk traditions worldwide. Even today, some gardeners plant by the moon, following charts that align tasks with lunar cycles. Beyond farming, the lunar calendar shaped cultural rhythms, rituals, and even marriages were often scheduled by it. As you drift to sleep, imagine early humans gazing up, their survival tied to the moon's rhythm, and how those same phases still guide celebrations. Today, Fact 52. Lunar eclipses. When Earth's shadow touches the moon, few sights in the sky are as breathtaking as a lunar eclipse. Unlike a solar eclipse, which is fleeting and localized, a lunar eclipse is visible to half the Earth whenever the sun, Earth, and moon align perfectly. As Earth's shadow passes over the moon, it doesn't vanish into darkness instead. It turns a deep copper red. This eerie glow happens because Earth's atmosphere bends sunlight, scattering blue light and allowing only red wavelengths to reach the moon. Ancient cultures feared eclipses, seeing them as omens or battles between celestial forces. The Incas believed a jaguar was attacking the moon, and they would make noise to scare it away. Today, we know eclipses are natural and predictable, yet they retain their beauty and power. Astronomers can calculate them centuries in advance. But when you watch one unfold, it still feels magical. The moon, bathed in Earth's filtered light, becomes a blood-red lantern in the sky. It's a reminder that we are part of a cosmic dance, where shadows stretch across space. Falling asleep after witnessing one feels like drifting into that shadowy embrace, part of something vast and timeless. Fact 53. The moon and the ocean's tides. Perhaps the most tangible influence the moon has on Earth is the tides. Its gravity pulls at Earth's oceans, causing water to bulge both toward and away from the moon. As Earth spins, these bulges create the rhythm of high and low tides. For coastal communities, tides shape daily life, fishing schedules, harbor activities, even travel routes. In ancient times, without the moon, tides would be weaker, driven only by the sun, and the oceans would behave very differently. Some scientists even suggest tides helped spark life by mixing nutrients in shallow pools. Billions of years ago, there is poetry in knowing that every wave on the shore is influenced by that glowing orb in the sky. Imagine lying on a beach, the tide washing in and out, each movement subtly guided by lunar gravity. It connects you directly to the cosmos, proof that the moon's presence is not just symbolic, but physical. Even as you sleep, the moon continues its silent work, tugging at the oceans, shaping coastlines, and sustaining rhythms of life across the globe. Fact 54. The moon's role in guiding travelers long before GPS or compasses. The moon served as a guide. Sailors used it to calculate longitude, measuring its position relative to the stars. On land, nomads and travelers looked to its phases to mark time and direction. Indigenous cultures developed stories around the moon that doubled as navigational aids, encoding knowledge and myth. Polynesian navigators, among the greatest seafarers in history, relied on the moon alongside stars and waves to cross vast stretches of ocean. Even in modern times, pilots and astronauts have used the moon for orientation. Apollo astronauts, trained to identify lunar features so they could recognize landmarks on approach. Beyond practical navigation, the moon also offered psychological guidance, a comforting light in dark nights, reassuring travelers they were not alone. Think of how many people across continents and centuries paused on a journey to look up at the same moon you see now. It is a shared compass, linking wanderers of all ages. As you close your eyes, imagine those travelers, sailors, explorers, dreamers, all guided by the moon's glow, their paths illuminated by its silver light. Fact 55. The moon and love stories across cultures. The moon has always been entwined with love. In many cultures, it is a symbol of romance, longing, and reunion. In classical poetry, lovers often meet under moonlight, their feelings reflected in its gentle glow. In Chinese mythology, the moon is tied to the story of change, the goddess who lives there, separated from her mortal husband. Each mid-autumn festival, families look at the moon together, a symbol of unity despite distance. In Western folklore, moonlight is said to spark magic, with countless songs calling it the light of love. Even today, people propose under full moons or write love letters, comparing their feelings to its beauty. Science, too, acknowledges that moonlight affects muditsi. Silvery quality creates an atmosphere of intimacy unmatched by artificial lights. The moon's cycles also metaphorically mirror relationships, waxing with new passion, waning with sorrow, and renewing again with hope. Across the world, countless couples have stood hand in hand beneath it, whispering promises. Falling asleep with thoughts of the moon is like holding those stories in your heart, drifting into dreams where love is eternal as the night sky. Fact 56. The moon and timekeeping. Before the invention of mechanical clocks, the moon was humanity's most reliable tool for measuring time. The cycle from new moon to new moon, 29.5 days, formed the basis of the month. Ancient people noticed the moon's phases were consistent, predictable, and easy to observe with the naked eye. In Mesopotamia, priests used lunar charts to decide when to begin rituals or collect taxes. In Egypt, lunar months were tied to religious festivals along the Nile. Indigenous cultures across the Americas tracked the moon's phases to count nights and seasons. For instance, some Native American tribes gave each full moon a name that reflected seasonal activities: harvest moon, snow moon, or worm moon. These names served as practical calendars, helping communities remember when to plant, hunt, or prepare for weather changes. Even after solar calendars became dominant, lunar months remained culturally significant. The Hebrew, Islamic, and traditional Chinese calendars are still lunar or lunisolar today. Imagine lying under an ancient sky, watching the moon wax and wane, knowing it was not only beautiful, but also a celestial clock guiding survival. As you drift off to sleep, you can picture generations who trusted the moon's rhythm to anchor their daily lives. Fact 57. The moon and dreams in folklore. Throughout history, the moon has been deeply tied to dreams, imagination, and even sleep itself. In Roman mythology, the goddess Luna was believed to ride her silver chariot across the night sky, lulling the world into rest. Many cultures saw the full moon as a time when dreams became more vivid or prophetic. In European folklore, people believed sleeping under moonlight could inspire strange visions, or even drive one moon mad. The origin of the word lunatic. On the gentler side, poets described the moon as the guardian of dreams, a silent companion who watches over sleepers. In India, ancient Ayurvedic texts suggested that moonlight could calm the mind, making it easier to enter peaceful sleep. Even modern studies hint at connections. Some research suggests that during full moons, people may experience changes in sleep cycles or dream intensity, though scientists debate why. The moon, with its shifting glow, remains a natural symbol of the dream world, mysterious, changeable, and enchanting. As you rest tonight, you might imagine the moon sprinkling silver dust over your dreams, guiding your mind into peaceful, surreal landscapes. Fact 58. The moon's surface, a silent witness of billions of years. The moon is not just a glowing sphere in the sky, it is a geological time capsule. Unlike Earth, with its shifting tectonic plates, oceans, and atmosphere, the moon has remained geologically still for billions of years. Every crater, ridge, and plain records ancient impacts and volcanic eruptions. Some of the craters are over 4 billion years old, meaning the surface preserves a history of the solar system's violent youth. When Apollo astronauts brought back lunar rocks, scientists realized these samples were older than most rocks on Earth. Studying them gave us clues about how planets formed and how often asteroids bombarded the early solar system. Without erosion, the moon's scars endure indefinitely. Imagine standing there, surrounded by silence, knowing each crater is a frozen memory of cosmic collisions long before humans existed. It is like a museum without walls, where every stone is a relic. This timeless quality explains why looking at the moon can feel so calming. It represents endurance, a quiet presence that has watched over Earth since life first emerged in its oceans. As you fall asleep, picture that vast, silent surfacean, eternal witness to history. Fact 59. Animals and the moon's influence. It's not only humans who respond to the moon, many animals. Certain species' behaviors are synchronized with lunar cycles. Sea turtles, for example, hatch at night, often guided by the brightness of the moon reflecting on the ocean, which helps them find their way to water. Corals in tropical seas release their eggs and sperm in mass spawning events, precisely timed to full moons, ensuring survival by overwhelming predators with sheer numbers. In the African savanna, lions are more likely to hunt during darker nights, when the moon is new and prey is less able to see them coming. Conversely, herbivores feel safer during full moons, grazing more openly under bright light. Birds, insects, and even fish have been observed adjusting activity based on lunar illumination. For early human hunters and gatherers, the moon likely shaped nocturnal habits too, deciding whether nights were good for hunting or better for rest. It is remarkable to think that the same light helping you see a path at night also guides creatures across oceans and savannas. As you close your eyes, you might picture the moon as a conductor, orchestrating rhythms of life all around the planet. Fact 60. The future. Humans living on the moon for thousands of years. People have dreamed about living on the moon. Now, that dream is closer than ever. Space agencies like NASA, ESA, and private companies envision lunar bases in the coming decades. The moon could serve as a stepping stone for missions to Mars, or even as a permanent settlement. Its resources like water ice hidden in craters could be used to produce drinking water, breathable oxygen, or rocket fuel. Engineers imagined habitats built inside lava tubes, natural tunnels that protect against radiation and extreme temperatures. Imagine sleeping on the moon. Outside, a pitch-black sky dotted with stars, and Earth rising like a glowing blue jewel on the horizon. The moon might one day host scientists, explorers, and maybe even tourists. In time, children could be born there, growing up with lower gravity, able to leap higher than on Earth. The idea feels both futuristic and dreamlike, a merging of science and imagination. As you drift off tonight, think of how future generations may call the moon home, turning what was once a distant dream into part of human reality. Fact 61. The moon's hidden side and human curiosity for centuries. Humans could only see one face of the moon, the side that always turns toward Earth due to tidal locking. The other half, often called the far side, remained hidden from view and became a source of endless mystery. Some imagined it to be a paradise, others a dark, cursed land. It wasn't until 1959, when the Soviet Luna 3 spacecraft sent back the first photographs, that humanity finally saw its hidden face. To everyone's surprise, the far side looked very different, covered with far more craters and lacking the vast smooth plains, or Maria, that dominates the near side. Scientists now believe this difference may be due to variations in crust, thickness, or early volcanic activity. The far side is also shielded from Earth's radio signals, making it an ideal place for future astronomical observatories. Picture lying down at night, gazing at the familiar face of the moon, and knowing that just beyond your sight lies an entirely different world, silent and mysterious. That sense of wonder, of curiosity about the unseen, is part of why the moon continues to inspire dreamers and scientists alike. Fact 62. The moon's role in Earth's climate stability. The moon does more than light our nights. It helps stabilize Earth itself. Our planet wobbles slightly as it spins on its axis, much like a tilted top. Without the moon, these wobbles could grow extreme, causing chaotic shifts in climate over time. But the moon's gravity steadies Earth, keeping its tilt around 23.5 degrees relatively stable. This tilt is what gives us seasons, and the moon ensures they remain consistent over millions of years. If Earth's tilt varied wildly, we might face periods of extreme cold or heat, making life less stable and predictable. Some scientists believe intelligent life might not have evolved without the moon's stabilizing presence. In this way, the moon isn't just a companionate, maybe a guardian, quietly ensuring our planet remains a habitable home. As you fall asleep, you might imagine the moon as a patient hand on Earth's shoulder, keeping it steady through cosmic time. Fact 63. Moonlight in art, music, and poetry. The moon has always been a muse for artists. From ancient cave drawings to modern songs, its glow has inspired countless creations. In Japanese haiku, poets wrote of the moon as a symbol of fleeting beauty. In Western art, painters like Van Gogh captured its light shimmering in night skies. Musicians have sung about it endlessly romantic ballads, dreamy sonatas, lullabies whispered to children. Beethoven's famous Moonlight Sonata wasn't actually named by him, but by a poet who felt the music sounded like moonlight on a lake. Even in cinema, directors often use the moon as a visual shorthand for romance, mystery, or longing. There's something about its soft, silver light that feels timeless, stirring emotions across cultures. Imagine the countless people who have looked at the moon, been moved by it, and turned that feeling into words, colors, or melodies. It's not just rock and dust, it's a global canvas for human creativity, a lantern that fuels imagination. As you rest, think of the moon as both a cosmic neighbor and an eternal artist's companion. Fact 64. The moon and tides. Nature's daily rhythm, the moon's gravity, pulls on Earth's oceans, creating tides that rise and fall twice a day. Without the moon, our tides would be much weaker, driven only by the sun. The tidal force of the moon has shaped coastlines, ecosystems, and even life itself. Early life forms may have relied on tidal pools, shallow waters, that filled and emptied under lunar influence as stepping stones from sea to land. Today, tides controlled the rhythm of fishing, coastal farming, and navigation. Many species, from crabs to seabirds, time their activities with the tides, which in turn are guided by the moon. Even humans feel its pull, not in a physical sense, but in our cultural lives. Fishermen still plan trips by the tides, and coastal communities celebrate festivals tied to lunar cycles. Imagine the gentle rhythm of waves rolling in and out, a lullaby written by the moon's invisible hand. That constant heartbeat connects every ocean shore to the sky above, reminding us of the deep bond between Earth and its satellite. Fact 65. Legends of the moon as a living being across cultures. People have imagined the moon not as a dead rock, but as a living presence. In some Native American traditions, the moon was seen as a wise grandmother, watching over the earth with gentle care. In Greek mythology, the goddess Selene embodied the moon, driving her silver chariot across the heavens. In China, the legend of Chang'e tells of a woman who flew to the moon and lives there still, accompanied by a jade rabbit who pounds herbs for immortality. In African folklore, the moon was sometimes seen as a lonely figure, forever chasing the sun but never catching it. These stories reveal how humans have always sought to bring the moon closer, giving it personality and emotion. It was easier to connect with the night sky by imagining it alive, sharing in our joys and sorrows. Even today, people still look up and feel as though the moon is watching them, a quiet companion. As you drift to sleep, you might imagine the moon whispering back, sharing its own ancient stories in the silence of the night. Fact 66. The moon's slow drift away from Earth. The moon is not locked in place. Forever it is slowly drifting farther from Earth. Every year, it moves about 3.8 centimeters away, roughly the rate at which your fingernails grow. Scientists confirmed this using laser reflectors left by Apollo astronauts, which allow us to measure the distance with centimeter precision. Billions of years ago, the moon was much closer to Earth. Imagine looking up at a moon that filled half the sky, brighter and more imposing than today. Its gravitational pull would have been stronger, causing tides that surged hundreds of feet high. As time passed, the exchange of energy between Earth's spin and the moon's orbit pushed it gradually outward. This process continues even now. In the far future, the moon will appear smaller in our sky, and solar eclipses will no longer perfectly cover the sun. For now, though, we live in a rare moment in cosmic history, where the sun and moon appear almost the same size from Earth. That coincidence makes total eclipses possible, one of the most breathtaking phenomena we can witness. As you close your eyes, imagine the slow, passionate drift of the moon, a celestial dance that changes so gradually you'd never notice in a lifetime, but transforms the Earth-Moon relationship across eons. Fact 67. Frozen water at the moon's poles for a long time. Scientists assumed the moon was bone dry. With no atmosphere to hold water and harsh sunlight beating down, it seemed impossible for ice to survive. But in the 21st century, discoveries changed that view forever. Using instruments on spacecraft, researchers detected water ice trapped in permanently shadowed craters near the lunar poles. These craters never see sunlight, and their floors remain colder than Pluto, cold enough to preserve ice for billions of years. This discovery is not only scientifically fascinating, but also practically important. Future astronauts could mine this ice for drinking water, split it into oxygen for breathing, or hydrogen for rocket fuel. The moon's hidden ice could make long-term human settlement possible. Imagine standing at the edge of one of these dark craters, peering into a place where the sun has never shone, knowing that deep below lies frozen treasure from ancient times. That ice may even contain clues about comets and asteroids that delivered water to Earth. In its silent way, the moon holds secrets not only about itself, but about the origins of life on our planet. Fact 68. The moon and human sleep cycles. For centuries, people have whispered that the full moon affects sleep. Folklore suggested restless nights, vivid dreams, or strange behavior when the moon was bright. Modern science has tested these claims, and though results are debated, some studies show intriguing patterns. One Swiss study found that during full moons, participants took longer to fall asleep, slept less deeply, and reported lower melatonin levels, the hormone that regulates sleep. Other research suggests the effect may be psychological, because people expect to sleep poorly during full moons. They do. Either way, the moon's presence in our nights influences how we think about rest. Ancient farmers used the light of the full moon to work late in the fields, calling it the farmer's moon. Hunters used it to track game, while poets and lovers stayed awake under its glow. Even today, people feel more awake during a bright moon, as though its light carries subtle energy. As you drift into slumber, you may wonder whether the moon is quietly weaving into your dreams, nudging your mind with a rhythm as old as humanity itself. Fact 69. The moon and human exploration dreams from the first time humans gazed upward. The moon has been a destination in the imagination. Ancient myths dreamed of gods and heroes traveling there. Writers like Jules Verne and H.G. Wells imagined voyages to the moon long before rockets existed. Then, in 1969, those dreams became reality with Apollo 11. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin's first steps on the moon were not just scientific, they were symbolic, a fulfillment of centuries of yearning. Since then, no human has walked its surface since 1972. But the dream persists. New generations of explorers envision building bases, mining resources, or even creating observatories on the moon. Private companies talk about space tourism, where ordinary people could one day walk under alien skies. The moon is close enough to reach, yet distant enough to feel otherworldly. It represents the first rung on the ladder to the stars. As you close your eyes, you can picture standing on its dusty plains, Earth glowing above the horizon, feeling both the fragility of home and the vast promise of exploration. The moon is both a mirror of human ambition and a symbol of our longing for the unknown. Fact 70. The moon's place in human connection beyond science. The moon is woven into the fabric of human relationships. People across the globe have looked at the same moon for millennia, sharing an unspoken bond. Lovers separated by distance often promise to gaze at the moon, knowing their eyes meet on the same glow. Poets write verses to it. Musicians sing ballads. Parents tell children bedtime stories beneath it. In Japan, the tradition of tsukimi, or moon viewing, celebrates the autumn harvest under its light, blending gratitude with beauty. In Islam, the sighting of the crescent moon begins holy months, a rhythm followed by millions. The moon becomes not just an object, but a shared symbol of humanity, connecting people across cultures and times. Its constancy brings comfort. No matter where you are on Earth, the same moon raises for you and for someone far away. As you drift into sleep, think of how the moon has watched over billions of people before you, binding humanity together with its gentle, patient glow. It is more than a satellite, it is a universal companion. Fact 71. The moon's silent landscape. The moon is one of the quietest places in the solar system, with no atmosphere to carry sound. Even the loudest event on the surface, like a meteor striking the ground, would be utterly silent to human ears. Imagine standing in your spacesuit, watching a boulder crash into the regolith and explode into dust, but hearing nothing except your own breathing and the hum of your oxygen system. This silence is eerie and profound, almost dreamlike. On Earth, silence is never complete. There's always the whisper of wind, the rustle of leaves, or the distant call of an animal. On the moon, silence is absolute, pressing down like a heavy blanket. Astronauts who walked there described how surreal it felt, like being inside a painting rather than a real place. In that deep silence, every step left a permanent mark. Footprints that could last for millions of years, since there is no wind or rain to erase them. The moon's silence makes it not just a barren world, but a place of eternal memory, holding human traces long after we are gone. Fact 72. The moon's influence on timekeeping. Before mechanical clocks, people measured time by the rhythms of the sky. The moon played a central role in this. Ancient civilizations built calendars based on its cycles, with months originally tied to the moon's phases. The word month itself comes from moon. Even today, many cultures follow lunar or lunisolar calendars, such as the Islamic calendar, which counts months purely by the crescent moon, or the Chinese calendar, which blends lunar cycles with the solar year. Festivals, rituals, and traditions across the world align with lunar time, from Ramadan to Lunar New Year to Easter. which is calculated as the Sunday after the full moon following the spring equinox. The moon, in this sense, is a natural clock in the sky. Imagine ancient people looking up night after night, marking the moon's changing face and shaping their societies around it. In our digital age, when atomic clocks measure time 2/billionths of a second, the moon still lingers as a reminder of a slower, more human rhythm, a clock written in silver light across the heavens. Fact 73. The moon's extreme temperatures. The moon may look calm and serene, but its surface is a place of brutal extremes. With no atmosphere to regulate temperature, conditions swing wildly. During the lunar day, which lasts about 2 Earth weeks, sunlight bakes the ground up to 127 degrees Celsius to 160. If at night, which lasts equally long, temperatures plunge 273 grados, bajo cero menos 280. That's a range of over 300 degrees between day and night. Astronauts wore heavily insulated suits to survive these swings, and future lunar bases will need special shielding and heating systems to cope. These extremes also affect materials. Metals expand and contract. Electronics risk freezing or overheating. And even dust becomes charged by sunlight. Yet in the eternal shadows of some craters at the poles, temperatures remain even colder than the surface of Pluto, preserving ancient ice. The moon's harsh climate reminds us how fragile life is and how carefully we must prepare to survive beyond Earth. But it also sparks a world so near to us, visible every night, yet so alien in its unforgiving environment. Fact 74. The moon as a mirror of Earth's history. The moon is like a time capsule for Earth's past. Unlike Earth, which has weather, oceans, and plate tectonics to recycle its surface, the moon has remained geologically quiet for billions of years. That means its craters, plains, and rocks preserve a record of impacts and cosmic events, stretching deep into history. By studying lunar rocks, scientists have pieced together the story of how the solar system formed, how asteroids bombarded young planets, and even how Earth itself evolved. Some lunar samples contain tiny glass beads formed from ancient volcanic eruptions, frozen in time. Others carry traces of water or solar wind particles, because the moon shares a history with Earth. It, likely formed from debris after a giant impact, it is a mirror of our own origins. To look at the moon is to look at the memory of Earth's youth, preserved in dust and stone. In this way, the moon is more than a companion. It is a historian of our cosmic journey, holding secrets we are still learning to read. Fact 75. The moon's role in future human dreams. Though humans have not set foot on the moon since 1972, it is once again at the center of our future plans. NASA's Artemis program aims to return astronauts there, including the first woman and the first person of color, with the goal of building a sustainable base. Other nations, like China and India, also have ambitious lunar programs, envisioning research stations, robotic explorers, and resource extraction. Private companies dream of tourism and industry, where rockets ferry people to lunar hotels or mining operations extract helium-3, a potential fuel for nuclear fusion. The moon could become humanity's training ground for living beyond Earth, a stepping stone to Mars and the wider cosmos. Imagine domes of glowing habitat lights against the darkness, astronauts planting new footprints beside the old Apollo ones, and robotic rovers tirelessly mapping and digging. For now, these are dreams, but they are dreams rooted in real science and growing technology. The moon has always been a symbol of human imagination, and in the coming decades, it may also become a place where those imaginations take physical form. Fact 76. The hidden side of the moon. When people speak of the dark side of the moon, what they really mean is the far side, the half of the moon that never faces Earth. This is not because it is always dark. In fact, the far side experiences day and night, just like the near side. The reason we never see it is because the moon is tidally locked, rotating at the same rate it orbits Earth, so one hemisphere forever faces us, while the other remains hidden. For centuries, this hidden half was a place of myth and mystery. Some imagined strange civilizations, others thought it was covered in thick forests or even mirror-like seas. It wasn't until 1959, when the Soviet Luna 3 spacecraft sent back grainy images, that humanity finally glimpsed it. What scientists saw was surprising. The far side is heavily cratered, far rougher than the side we know, with almost no vast, dark Maria lava plains, like those on the near side. Why this asymmetry exists is still debated perhaps. Because the Earth's gravity influenced how lava flowed, or because the crust on the far side is thicker. Today, satellites orbiting the moon continue to map every valley and crater of this mysterious hemisphere, showing us that even our closest neighbor still holds secrets. Fact 77. Lunar eclipses. When Earth shadows the moon, one of the most magical sights in the night sky is a lunar eclipse, when Earth passes between the sun and the moon. Instead of disappearing, the moon takes on an eerie reddish glow. This happens because sunlight bends around Earth's atmosphere, scattering blue light and letting only red and orange light reach the moon. In other words, during a lunar eclipse, the moon is bathed in all the sunsets and sunrises happening on Earth at that moment. Ancient cultures saw these events as omens, signs of change or divine messages. Today, we understand the science, yet the beauty remains breathtaking. Imagine lying beneath a starry sky, watching the moon slowly darken as Earth's shadow creeps across it until it transforms into a glowing ember, suspended in the heavens. Each eclipse is a reminder of the cosmic alignment that binds Earth, moon, and sun together. They also provide science with a natural experiment. By studying how Earth's atmosphere bends light during an eclipse, astronomers refine techniques to study atmospheres of faraway exoplanets. Thus, a sight that once inspired fear now inspires wonder and discovery. Fact 78. The moon's connection with myths and gods. Throughout history, the moon has been personified as a goddess, a god, or a divine symbol. In Greek mythology, Selene was the goddess of the moon, often depicted driving a silver chariot across the night sky. The Romans called her Luna, and from that name we get words like lunar. In Mesopotamia, the moon god sign was central to calendars and rituals. Ancient Egyptians associated the moon with Thoth, the god of wisdom and writing, while in Hindu mythology, Chandra is the moon deity, radiant and beautiful. In Japanese tradition, the moon goddess Tsukuyomi plays a key role in Shinto stories. These myths often reflect the moon's phases. Its waxing and waning symbolized birth, death, and rebirth. Some cultures saw the full moon as a time of fertility and harvest, while the new moon marked beginnings and renewal. Even today, traces of these beliefs linger in folklore, festivals, and rituals. The moon is not just an object in the sky. It is woven into human imagination, shaping stories, faiths, and cultural rhythms across millennia. To dream under the moon is to share in a universal human experience that stretches back to our ancestors. Fact 79. Moonquakes. The moon is not dead for a long time. Scientists assumed the moon was completely geologically inactive, a frozen, silent world. But data from seismometers placed by Apollo astronauts revealed something surprising. The moon experiences moon. These quakes are weaker than most earthquakes, but some last much longer. Uptuanor, they come in different types. Shallow quakes caused by tectonic activity. Deep quakes triggered by tidal forces from Earth's gravity. Thermal quakes from surface expansion when day turns to night, and quakes from meteor impacts. Some shallow moonquakes were strong enough to make the ground shift by several centimeters, which would be dangerous for future lunar bases. The fact that the moon still trembles suggests it isn't entirely geologically that its interior retains heat, and its crust continues to adjust. Imagine being inside a lunar habitat, hearing instruments detect vibrations from deep within the moon, a reminder that even this silent world has a heartbeat. Moonquakes challenge the idea of the moon as static and lifeless. Instead, it is dynamic, still slowly evolving after billions of years. Fact 80. The moon as Earth's mirror in art and poetry. More than any other celestial object, the moon has inspired artists, poets, and dreamers. Its soft glow, changing phases, and mysterious presence have been woven into countless works. From ancient Chinese poets writing about longing under the full moon, to Shakespeare's plays where the moon symbolizes romance or madness, to modern songs that sing of moonlight, The moon has been amused across cultures and centuries. Painters captured its glow on canvas. From Bungo, a starry night with its swirling moon, to Japanese woodblock prints showing quiet, moonlit landscapes. For poets, the moon often became a symbol of solitude, hope, or the passage of time. Even today, the phrase moonlight evokes something tender and calming. The moon is more than rock and dust. In human culture, it is a mirror of our emotions, reflecting love, melancholy, dreams, and imagination. As you gaze at the moon, you're resharing in a chain of inspiration that links you with billions of people through history who also lifted their eyes to its silver light and found words, songs, and visions born from it. Fact 81. The moon's role in stabilizing Earth's climate. The moon does more than decorate our night sky. It plays a vital role in keeping Earth stable. Without the moon, Earth's tilt, its axial inclination would wobble chaotically over millions of years. That tilt is responsible for our seasons, and the moon's steady gravitational pull helps hold it within a narrow range of about 22 to 25 degrees. If Earth had no moon, the tilt could swing wildly, leading to extreme climate shifts. Ice ages could come and go unpredictably. Deserts might suddenly become lush, and fertile lands could turn barren. Life as we know it might never have developed with such instability. This stabilizing effect may have been one of the keys to the evolution of complex life on our planet. Scientists even speculate that intelligent civilizations may be rare in the universe precisely because they require moons of similar size to create long-term climate stability. So when you look at the moon, remember it is not just a companion, but a guardian, keeping our world balanced enough for life to thrive. Fact 82. The soundless silence of the moon. If you were standing on the lunar surface, you would notice a silence deeper than anything on Earth. The moon has no atmosphere to carry sound waves, so footsteps, shovels, or even crashes would produce vibrations only within solid ground or your spacesuit, but not through open space. When Apollo astronauts walked, the only sounds they heard were the muffled noises of their own breathing and radio communications. This eerie silence creates a kind of dreamlike quality. Imagine walking across an alien landscape where even the crunch of your boots leaves no echo in the air. Yet silence doesn't mean stillness. Meteorites constantly strike the moon, releasing energy that would boom on Earth, but pass unnoticed to human ears on the moon's surface. The silence of the moon highlights how dependent we are on our atmosphere to shape the world we experience. The whispers of wind, the rustle of leaves, the call of birds all absent on the moon. For astronauts, that silence is both unsettling and serene. A reminder they are truly standing on another world. Fact 83. The water hidden in lunar shadows. For decades, scientists assumed the moon was bone dry, a barren desert of dust and rock. But in the 1990s, missions like Clementine and Lunar Prospector suggested water ice might exist in permanently shadowed craters at the poles. Later missions confirmed this. In some craters where sunlight never reaches, temperatures plunge so low that ice can remain stable for billions of years. These deposits are like cosmic freezers, preserving ancient water from comets or volcanic eruptions. The presence of water is revolutionary. For future explorers, it means a potential source of drinking water, oxygen, and even rocket fuel, if split into hydrogen and oxygen. Some scientists call these shadowed regions the moon's treasure chests, waiting to be unlocked. But they are also among the coldest places in the solar system, with temperatures colder than Pluto. Imagine standing near the rim of a sunlit lunar crater, where the ground is blisteringly hot and just meters away. Inside the shadow lies a darkness colder than any earthly winter, hiding silent ice, untouched freons. Fact 84. The moon has a record of solar system history. Unlike Earth, which has weather, plate tectonics, and erosion, the moon preserves its surface almost unchanged for billions of years. Every crater, from the smallest pit to the massive South Palaitkin Basin, is like a page in the history of the solar system. By studying these craters, scientists learn about the intensity of asteroid impacts, the evolution of planetary surfaces, and the violent early years of the solar system. Some rocks brought back by Apollo astronauts are over 4 billion years old, making them older than almost any rock on Earth. They tell stories of magma oceans, volcanic eruptions, and bombardments that shaped not only the moon but also Earth. The moon is, in a sense, our cosmic archiva, dusty, cratered library of the solar system's past. Future missions may uncover even more secrets by drilling deep into its crust, revealing hidden layers untouched since the moon's birth. For those who dream of exploring history, the moon is not just a satellite, but a time capsule. Fact 85. The moon in human dreams and sleep cycles. The moon's influence extends beyond tides and myths. It may subtly affect human sleep. Several studies suggest that people sleep less deeply and take longer to fall asleep during a full moon, even in rooms without visible moonlight. The reasons are unclear. Some suspect ancient evolutionary roots, when brighter nights under the full moon meant more nighttime activity or vigilance against predators. Others argue it may simply be psychological, as humans remain subconsciously tuned to lunar cycles. Throughout history, people have linked the moon to dreams, madness, hence the word lunatic, and supernatural events. Full moons were thought to bring visions, inspire creativity, or open portals to other worlds. In literature and art, dreams and the moon often intertwine, symbolizing mystery, transformation, and the blurred line between reality and imagination. Whether or not the moon truly shapes our sleep, the belief itself is powerful, and many still look up at a glowing full moon and wonder what dreams it might stir within their minds. Fact 86. The moon's slow retreat from Earth. The moon is not fixed in its orbit. Each year, it drifts about 3.8 centimeters farther from Earth. This gradual retreat is caused by tidal interactions. Earth's rotation creates bulges in its oceans, which tug on the moon and transfer energy to it, pushing it outward. Over millions of years, this small drift adds up. When the moon formed, it was much closer, looming larger in the sky. Imagine a night billions of years ago, when the moon appeared 3 times its current size, dominating the heavens and causing tides hundreds of meters high. This slow separation has consequences. Earth rotation is gradually slowing, meaning days are lengthening by tiny fractions of a second each century. Far in the future, billions of years from now, Earth and the moon may become tidally locked to each other, with Earth always showing the same face to the moon, just as the moon already does to Earth. This cosmic dance reminds us that the sky above us is not static, but a living system, slowly evolving with time. Fact 87. The moon and human timekeeping. Before clocks, calendars, or even written language, humans measured time by the moon. It cycles new moon to full moon, and back last about 29.5 days, inspiring the concept of months. Many early calendars were lunar, such as the Islamic calendar, which still follows lunar months today. Festivals, rituals, and harvests were often timed to phases of the moon. Even the English word month comes from moon. Beyond calendars, the moon's phases became cultural markers, guiding stories and traditions across societies. The waxing moon might symbolize growth and beginnings, while the waning moon represented closure or endings. Farmers used the moon to predict planting and harvesting, and sailors used its light to navigate oceans. Today, while digital clocks rule our lives, echoes of the moon remain in language, tradition, and rhythm. The moon is not just a nightlight. It is a clock in the sky, marking time long before human hands built sundials or watches. Fact 88. The moon's magnetic past. The moon today has no global magnetic field, unlike Earth, but ancient lunar rocks reveal magnetism, suggesting that billions of years ago, the moon had a molten core that generated a magnetic field. This field may have been surprisingly strong, perhaps even rivaling Earth's, protecting the moon's surface from solar wind. As the core cooled, the magnetic shield weakened and eventually disappeared, leaving the lunar surface exposed to radiation and micrometeorite bombardment. The discovery of this magnetic past reshapes how scientists view the moon. It was once more dynamic than we imagined, with an interior hot enough to churn and create protective fields. Understanding the moon Ancient magnetism also provides insight into how small bodies in the solar system evolve, and what conditions might be necessary for habitability elsewhere. Holding a magnetized lunar rock is like holding a memory of a time when the moon had its own invisible shield, a reminder that even seemingly dead worlds were once alive with unseen forces. Fact 89. The moon's influence on wildlife. The moon doesn't just affect humans, it influences the behavior of animals around the world. Many species use the moon's light and cycles for navigation, reproduction, or feeding. Sea turtles, for example, hatch at night and instinctively move toward the brightest horizon, usually the moon over the ocean. Corals in tropical seas release eggs and sperm in mass, spawning events synchronized with the full moon, ensuring greater chances of fertilization. Wolves and other predators may hunt more actively under bright moonlight, while prey animals adjust their behavior to avoid detection. Even tiny plankton in the ocean rise and fall with lunar rhythms. This deep connection between life and lunar cycles shows how the moon's steady glow shapes ecosystems on Earth. In folklore, the full moon was often linked with wolves howling, and while wolves do howl more at night, it's the moon's brightness that makes their presence more visible to us. The moon is thus not just a human companion, it is a silent conductor of life's rhythms across the planet. Fact 90. The moon, as humanity's next frontier, is Earth's first and closest stepping stone to space. The moon remains central to humanity's future dreams. In the 1960s and 70s, Apollo missions proved we could reach it. But after the last astronaut left in 1972, the moon became a distant memory in terms of human footsteps. Now, a new era of exploration is dawning. Space agencies plan to return humans to the lunar surface, build permanent bases, and use the moon as a launch pad for missions to Mars. Its resources such as water ice could fuel rockets, while its low gravity makes it an ideal place to construct spacecraft. Private companies are also eyeing the moon for tourism and mining. Beyond practicality, there is a symbolic pull. To stand on the moon is to bridge the gap between Earth and the stars. The moon represents both memory and promise. Memory of past triumphs and promise of future frontiers. For dreamers, scientists, and explorers alike, the moon is not the end, but the beginning of humanity's cosmic journey. Fact 91. Lunar water. Ice in the shadows for centuries. People assumed the moon was bone dry, a barren desert with no trace of water. That belief held until the late 20th century, when orbiters and later missions revealed evidence of water ice hidden in craters near the poles. These craters are so deep and their walls so steep that sunlight never reaches the bottom, creating regions of permanent shadow colder than Pluto. Within this frozen darkness, scientists have detected ice mixed with lunar soil. While it's not lakes or rivers, this ice could be one of the most valuable resources for future explorers. Water is essential not only for drinking, but also for producing breathable oxygen and rocket fuel when split into hydrogen and oxygen. The discovery of lunar ice transformed the moon from a lifeless rock into a potential resource hub for deep space missions. It means astronauts may not need to carry everything from Earth, but can live off the land, an idea that turns survival into settlement, and settlement into expansion. Fact 92. Moonquakes. Beneath the surface, though the moon seems silent and still, it trembles with its own kind of seismic activity. Moonquakes. Unlike earthquakes caused by shifting tectonic plates, moonquakes arise from different forces. Some are triggered by the tidal pull of Earth, others by the daily heating and cooling of the lunar surface, and a few by meteorite impacts. During the Apollo missions, astronauts placed seismometers on the moon, which recorded thousands of these quakes. Some were surprisingly strong, lasting much longer than earthquakes, because the moon's crust is more rigid and less dampened. Imagine the ground shaking and ringing like a bell for nearly an hour. Scientists are still studying these events to understand the moon's interior structure and thermal state. For future settlers, moonquakes pose challenges. Habitats must be built to withstand them. Yet they also hold clues to the moon's hidden geology, offering a way to listen to its heartbeat. A subtle reminder that even worlds that look dead can still shiver with energy beneath their surfaces. Fact 93. The moon's role in myth and madness. Few celestial bodies inspire as much myth as the moon. Across cultures, it has been seen as a god, a guardian, a trickster, or a mirror of human emotions. The word lunacy itself comes from luna, Latin for moon, reflecting the old belief that the full moon could stir madness or strange behavior. In medieval Europe, it was thought that people were more prone to seizures or sleeplessness under bright moonlight. Some police forces even noticed correlations real or imagined between full moons and crime rates. In literature and folklore, the moon is linked with werewolves, shapeshifters, and enchantments. Yet, beyond fear, it has also symbolized love and beauty, with poets calling it a muse. From Japanese haiku to Shakespearean sonnets, the moon embodies longing and mystery. While science has shown no direct link between the moon and madness, its light still tugs at our imagination. The full moon glowing over quiet fields or city skylines continues to evoke awe, stirring a timeless dialogue between human minds and the heavens above. Fact 94. The moon in art and music artists across centuries have turned to the moon for inspiration. Painters like Caspar David Friedrich used its glow to create scenes of solitude and wonder, while Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night places a luminous moon at the heart of swirling skies. In Eastern traditions, Chinese and Japanese artists often depicted the moon reflected in lakes or framed by cherry blossoms, linking it to fleeting beauty and harmony. In music, the moon has been immortalized in everything from classical compositions like Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata to jazz standards like Blue Moon and countless modern songs. The moon's phases often serve as metaphors, crescents as new beginnings, full moons as passion or culmination, waning moons as loss or nostalgia. Even in cinema, the moon has been a backdrop for dreams. From Méliès' 1902 classic A Trip to the Moon to modern sci-fi epics, it is more than an object in the sky. It is a canvas onto which humanity projects its fears, desires, and creativity, forever glowing as a companion to our imagination. Fact 95. The moon and the future of humanity. Looking forward, the moon may play a critical role in the destiny of our species. As Earth faces challenges like overpopulation, climate change, and dwindling resources, the moon represents both a refuge and a laboratory. Establishing lunar bases could teach us how to survive in harsh environments, skills necessary for journeys to Mars and beyond. Projects such as NASA's Artemis program aim to send astronauts back to the lunar surface, this time not just to visit but to stay. International cooperation is also emerging, with nations like China, India, and Europe planning missions that may one day weave together a global effort beyond survival. The moon offers cultural and philosophical value, a shared frontier where humanity can dream collectively, rather than fight over divisions on Earth. Standing on the moon and gazing back at the blue marble of Earth may remind us of our unity and fragility. The moon is not just a destination. It is a mirror reflecting who we are and what we might become as a spacefaring civilization. Fact 91. Lunar water. Ice in the shadows for centuries. People assumed the moon was bone dry, a barren desert with no trace of water. That belief held until the late 20th century, when orbiters and later missions revealed evidence of water ice hidden in craters near the poles. These craters are so deep and their walls so steep that sunlight never reaches the bottom, creating regions of permanent shadow colder than Pluto. Within this frozen darkness, scientists have detected ice mixed with lunar soil. While it's not lakes or rivers, this ice could be one of the most valuable resources for future explorers. Water is essential not only for drinking, but also for producing breathable oxygen and rocket fuel when split into hydrogen and oxygen. The discovery of lunar ice transformed the moon from a lifeless rock into a potential resource hub for deep space missions. It means astronauts may not need to carry everything from Earth, but can live off the land-on idea that turns survival into settlement and settlement into expansion. Fact 92. Moonquakes beneath the surface. Though the moon seems silent and still, it trembles with its own kind of seismic activity. Unlike earthquakes caused by shifting tectonic plates, moonquakes arise from different forces. Some are triggered by the tidal pull of Earth, others by the daily heating and cooling of the lunar surface, and a few by meteorite impacts. During the Apollo missions, astronauts placed seismometers on the moon, which recorded thousands of these quakes. Some were surprisingly strong, lasting much longer than earthquakes because the moon's crust is more rigid and less dampened. Imagine the ground shaking and ringing like a bell for nearly an hour. Scientists are still studying these events to understand the moon's interior structure and thermal state. For future settlers, moonquakes pose challenges. Habitats must be built to withstand them. Yet they also hold clues to the moon's hidden geology, offering a way to listen to its heartbeat, a subtle reminder that even worlds that look dead can still shiver with energy beneath their surfaces. Fact 93. The moon's role in myth and madness. Few celestial bodies inspire as much myth as the moon. Across cultures, it has been seen as a god, a guardian, a trickster, or a mirror of human emotions. The word lunacy itself comes from luna, Latin for moon, reflecting the old belief that the full moon could stir madness or strange behavior. In medieval Europe, it was thought that people were more prone to seizures or sleeplessness under bright moonlight. Some police forces even noticed correlations real, or imagine it, between full moons and crime rates. In literature and folklore, the moon is linked with werewolves, shapeshifters, and enchantments. Yet beyond fear, it has also symbolized love and beauty, with poets calling it a muse. From Japanese haiku to Shakespearean sonnets, the moon embodies longing and mystery. While science has shown no direct link between the moon and madness, its light still tugs at our imagination. The full moon glowing over quiet fields or city skylines continues to evoke awe, stirring a timeless dialogue between human minds and the heavens above. Fact 94. The moon in art and music. Artists across centuries have turned to the moon for inspiration. Painters like Caspar David Friedrich used its glow to create scenes of solitude and wonder, while Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night places a luminous moon at the heart of swirling skies. In Eastern traditions, Chinese and Japanese artists often depicted the moon reflected in lakes or framed by cherry blossoms, linking it to fleeting beauty and harmony. In music, the moon has been immortalized in everything from classical compositions like Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata to jazz standards like Blue Moon and countless modern songs. The moon's phases often serve as metaphors. Crescents as new beginnings, full moons as passion or culmination, waning moons as loss or nostalgia. Even in cinema, the moon has been a backdrop for dreams, from Melly's 1902 classic, A Trip to the Moon, to modern sci-fi epic. It is more than an object. In the sky, it is a canvas onto which humanity projects its fears, desires, and creativity, forever glowing as a companion to our imagination. Fact 95. The moon and the future of humanity. Looking forward, the moon may play a critical role in the destiny of our species. As Earth faces challenges like overpopulation, climate change, and dwindling resources, the moon represents both a refuge and a laboratory. Establishing lunar bases could teach us how to survive in harsh environments, skills necessary for journeys to Mars and beyond. Projects such as NASA's Artemis program aim to send astronauts back to the lunar surface, this time not just to visit but to stay. International cooperation is also emerging, with nations like China, India, and Europe planning missions that may one day weave together a global effort. Beyond survival, the moon offers cultural and philosophical value, a shared frontier where humanity can dream collectively, rather than fight over divisions on Earth. Standing on the moon and gazing back at the blue marble of Earth may remind us of our unity and fragility. The moon is not just a destination. It is a mirror reflecting who we are and what we might become as a spacefaring civilization. Fact 96. The moon's hidden far side. When people talk about the dark side of the moon, they often mean the hemisphere we never see from Earth. In truth, that side gets sunlight too. It's just hidden from our constant view because the moon is tidally locked. This far side is rugged, mountainous, and marked by countless craters, a stark contrast to the smoother near side, with its vast maria or basaltic plains. The far side remained completely unknown until 1959, when the Soviet spacecraft Luna 3 captured the first blurry images. Later missions revealed more detail, showing an alien landscape dominated by impact scars. This side of the moon is shielded from much of Earth's radio noise, making it an ideal place for building radio telescopes to listen to signals from the early universe. Some scientists dream of constructing giant observatories in those silent valleys, giving us a clearer window into cosmic history. The far side isn't dark, it's a hidden half, a reminder that even our closest neighbor holds mysteries just out of sight, waiting for human curiosity to uncover. Fact 97. Lunar dust. One of the biggest challenges astronauts faced on the moon was the lack of air or the freezing nights. It was dust. Lunar regolith. The powdery surface material is made up of tiny, jagged particles created by billions of years of meteor impacts. Without wind or water to smooth them, these grains are sharp like glass. During the Apollo missions, the dust clung to suits, scratched visors, and clogged equipment. Astronauts even inhaled it when they returned to their lunar modules, describing its smell as similar to burnt gunpowder. Over time, lunar dust could cause respiratory issues, damage machinery, and reduce the lifespan of habitats. Future explorers must design new solutions, airlocks that brush off dust, stronger filters, and better suit materials to survive long-term. Yet lunar dust also carries scientific value. It holds traces of solar, wind, particles, and cosmic history embedded in its grains. This dual nature, both danger and discovery, makes it one of the most fascinating challenges for living and working on the moon. Fact 98. The moon as a gateway to Mars. For decades, scientists and space agencies debated whether humanity should aim straight for Mars or build a stepping stone on the moon first. Increasingly, the moon is seen as a gateway. Establishing bases there will teach us how to extract resources, generate power, and sustain life away from Earth's cradle. Technologists tested on the moon-like habitats, buried under regolith, for protection, greenhouses for growing food, and 3D printing, with local materials scan, later be applied on Mars. The moon's weaker gravity also makes it an efficient launch site. Rockets fueled with lunar ice-derived hydrogen could depart from the moon with far less energy than from Earth, making deep space exploration cheaper and more feasible. By mastering the moon, humanity rehearses for the red planet, ensuring that when we step onto Martian soil, we carry lessons forged in lunar dust. Thus, the moon is not an endpoint, but a bridge between Earth and the wider solar system, a vital rung in the ladder of cosmic exploration. Fact 99. The moon in human identity. Beyond its physical presence, the moon is deeply entwined with human identity. It has shaped calendars, guided navigation, and provided spiritual meaning for millennia. Indigenous cultures around the world used lunar cycles to time planting, hunting, and rituals. The Islamic calendar remains entirely lunar, while festivals like the Madadam festival in East Asia or Easter in Christianity are tied to its phases. In art and literature, the moon symbolizes cycles of change, femininity, mystery, and renewal. Psychologically, it is a companion in the night sky, a constant presence that outlasts generations. For many, watching a full moon rising evokes feelings of connection both to ancestors who gazed at the same sight and to future descendants who will do the same. Even astronauts who walked on its surface described a profound shift when they looked back at Earth. Seeing our planet hanging in the void changed their perspective on humanity's place in the cosmos. The moon, then, is not just rock and dusted as part of who we are, a mere reflecting our shared story. Fact 100. The moon's eternal lullaby as we conclude this journey through 100 sleepy facts. It is fitting to see the moon not only as a scientific object, but as a timeless lullaby. For countless generations, it has been the light that comforted travelers, the glowing-faced children whispered to before sleep, the silent witness to love stories and battles alike. Unlike fleeting comets or distant galaxies, the moon is always there, waxing, waning, disappearing, returning. It has watched over humanity from our earliest days, and it will continue to do so long after our era ends. Perhaps one day, children will fall asleep under domes on the lunar surface, looking out at Earth glowing blue in their sky. Or perhaps the moon will simply remain as it always has, a quiet companion, circling endlessly, keeping our nights company. In a universe full of chaos, the moon offers rhythm, calm, and continuity. It is both a scientific frontier and a poetic constanta, gentle reminder that even in darkness, there is always light. The moon is Earth's lullaby, and humanity's eternal dream.